One Guitar Junkie here, and we're looking at the verse of Margaritaville. I'm capoed at the 2nd fret, playing C, so it comes out in D. And this is an acoustic arrangement. This isn't to be played with a whole band. This is assuming you don't have the band, and we have to cover all the parts. So we just did that intro. Now, while we're strumming this verse, I put in that bass note, the alternating bass note. How I get that out of that C chord, all I'm doing is moving my 3rd finger over to grab that G, and I mute it a little bit and come back to that C. Now I've got the 4th finger on a 3rd fret of the E string, which gives me a G as the high note in the C chord. That's not necessary, you could leave it open. But I like that G in the top. Could just do that vamp, just do that alternating bass note, but I alternate that with a couple of little hammer-ons that I do that are tabbed out at the page also. And what all we're doing there is I'm hammering up 2nd fret on the G string, and then back to the 2nd fret on the E string where it belongs, and then hit that open G string again. You can do that while you're strumming if you can. That with another lick that goes, and that's the same hammer-on. And you can mix those up any way you want, but just that little hammer-on on the G string. Now when we get to that G chord, which is a G7, so in the verse where it goes, nibbling on sponge cake, then the hammer on it, watching the sun bathe, all of them tourists covered with oil. Now, the G chord that I'm using here is not your standard G. Usually you'd have 3rd finger, 2nd finger, 3 open strings, and your 4th finger would be on the E string at the 3rd fret. I'm muting the high E string, and I'm putting my 4th finger at the 3rd fret on the B string. It gives me a G with a D in the top. And that's to give me room to walk on the next move of the chord. I'm going to accent that D with an upstroke. Then I hit the open string, and then I make that open E string. So now I have a G with an E in the top, G6 if you want. But it's really just a passing note to get to the G7. So I've got this D under my 4th finger, that's the 3rd fret of the B string, and that's in the tab. If you'll notice, there's a link to the tab on the text box of this video. So that 4th finger, open E string to a G7. And once you get to that G7, you can put the D back in if you want. It gives a little close dissonance. That back down, G7, G6, back to the G with the D in the top. So, nibbling on sponge cake, watching the sun bathe, all of them tourists covered with oil. Go to the chorus, I'm going to show you where you can fit those hammer-ons in again after the smell them shrimp and oil. That hammer-on will lead you right into the C7 chord, and then that lick, you can leave the C7 chord if you want to put in this, accent the 1st finger with that C, put that D in again, the same D that we put into the G chord. If you put it into the C, we have a C add 2nd for a 2nd to an open E. fret of the second string, fourth finger on the third fret of the second string, and then just hit the C chord with that open E. And that walks into the F. So it's nibbling on sponge cake.